This is the Raven and the Blues on BFBS Radio 2. 2.5 years since you were here last, Kelly Joe. Welcome to Kelly Joe Phelps. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
I think, first of all, if we go back to last night at the Jazz Cafe, massive crowd, and lots of guitarists there, weren't there? It seemed like a guitar convention had come to watch you.
Oh, jeez. Good thing I didn't know that.
It seems that your fame is spreading, but the number of people coming to the cause are growing, aren't they?
It feels like it, yeah. You know, it's been a nice process, you know, to watch, to experience it grow, you know, slowly over time like that. It feels very natural and organic, which seems healthy, you know.
Is it happening worldwide?
It seems to be, yeah. I mean, I've been touring for a dozen years or so now, and I'm, you know, still once in a while getting to countries I've never been to. I just, you know, part of this tour was I spent a week touring in Spain, which was marvelous, beautiful place, and that, you know, and was surprised at the audiences, you know, not knowing what to expect, having never been there, and it was good, and same things happening back in the States and in Canada, you know. I mean, it's been a good solid core for some time, but it, like you say, slowly, you know, the rooms get a little bigger, the crowds get a little bigger.
And also watching you last night, I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but it wasn't you were lacking confidence before, but it seems like you've sort of grown into your own body. You're extremely comfortable with what you're doing. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, that's certainly a fair description. Excuse me. I'm noticing, you know, a kind of a growing confidence in an underlying sort of way, you know, not something that I see out of my eyes, obviously, but that I think, you know, from getting older, I suppose, and gaining more experience at this, that, you know, finding a confidence in the various aspects of what I do, you know, whether it's the songwriting or the singing or the guitar playing.
So I was going to use the word stagecraft, but that implies planned and practiced and sort of like doing routines. But it's not a routine. It's just sheer raw confidence in a way, isn't it? I guess so. That's probably how it comes out. I mean, it's, craft would be the wrong word to use, because I don't, you know, the craft part of it probably comes from having played guitar for 30 odd years, you know. But on, you know, on the stage, that is the last thing that I would think about. You know, it is, you know, just emoting this thing that I've spent the majority of my life attempting to do. Yeah. The musical career, I'd say, the last 5 years or so was Kelly Joe as a solo artist, and then with a small band, and now back to solo again. Is that, have you sort of decided that being on your own is what you want to be?
I think so. Again, it's all part of this process of trying to find out the most natural way for me to exist. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Whether it's, you know, what kind of food a person decides to eat, or you know, what kind of lifestyle to live, and musically, that's a part of it for me. And the, you know, this whole thing we talked about with the way it appears on stage and stuff. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I am the most comfortable in that setting, in that solo setting, where I don't have to think about anything. You know, I can really disappear inside the music and just let it go. And you know, for me, I mean, I'm comfortable in that setting. You know, I know other musicians that aren't, and musicians that much prefer to play in a trio setting or even a duo setting, just to have something, you know, to fall back on, if nothing else. But that almost confuses things for me. I prefer trying not to think about anything, you know.
Looking at the set list in front of me, or the tracks we've played from you over the last 5 years on the Raven and the Blues, I think we've covered almost everything of every album. So let's have something. What are you going to do for us today?
Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe I'll play. I sort of feel like playing a thing. An old Doc Boggs. I don't know if you're familiar with Doc Boggs, a banjo player.
Very much an influence of yours early on, wasn't it?
Yeah. and still somebody that I go to back a lot, you know. And there's one song that I play of his sometimes that I learned from one of his records, which is called "The Girl I Left Behind," I think is the name of it. I don't think I've done it on any records. No. So we'll just give it a go. I've always been a rambler, yet my fortune been quite hard. Yet I always loved the women, drank whiskey and played cards. My parents, they treated me kind, had no one but me. No, my mind is set on rambling. Mind is set on rambling. Oh, that home I could not be. Yeah, home I could not be. No. Yeah, there was a wealthy farmer. He had a house nearby. Had a handsome daughter on who I cast an eye. She was so tall and handsome, pretty and so fair. There's not one girl in this whole wide old world with who I could compare. And I asked if it made any difference if I cross o'er the plain. Yeah, she said it'd make no difference, boy, if you return again. Oh, now we'll prove true to you until you prove unkind. So I shook hands and departed, yeah, the girl I left behind. Shook hands and departed, the girl I left behind. And I left Carolina, then to Maryland I did go, and I'm going back to Tennessee. I've looked the wide world o'er, and the work and money is plentiful, but the girls all treat me kind, but there's only one still break my heart. Only one still break my heart. Whoa, that girl. Yeah, that girl I left way, way behind. Now rambling out one evening down on the public square, happened round the corner and a postman met me there. He handed me a letter that led me to understand that girl I've been loving. Girl I've been loving, she went away with another man. Whoa, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. And I read a few lines further, and I found out it was true. In my heart was pain and trouble, I didn't know what to do. My heart was pain and trouble, my troubles on my mind. I will always drink and gamble. I will always drink and gamble for the girl I left there way behind. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, 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 all the girl I left behind.
Doc Boggs number there. Was it on your first album you had Doc Boggs Country Blues? Was that?
That was on. That was on Roll Away the Stone.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your album from this year came out in January here in the UK. It was your first live album,
right, yeah.
Tap the Red Cone Whirlwind. And again, from that, you've got an feeling of you sort of extended the tracks, the songs you'd already written, and you could already feel again the comfort, if you like. Why a live album? Was there a demand, or did you just feel that the time is right for me to do it?
It was both things. I have been asked that for a number of years by people coming to the shows. Man, when are you going to do a live record? I'd love to hear it. And because the live setting is where potentially the most emotion is going to show up. I always had in the back of my mind that it would be nice to try to capture that at some point, at least once, and so I think that's why I did it ultimately. Up to that point, there were other recording concerns that I had to deal with, but I found myself in a situation where I didn't have to worry about, certain record label concerns maybe, or my own, concerns otherwise. And it seemed like the right time to do it, and I had the opportunity, and everybody was available that I wanted to help me with it. So
it's a nice, concise live set. It has sort of a feel that it was all done on the same night and in a chronological order. Is that the case, or is it a combination of different venues?
It was a combination ultimately of two different venues. I recorded 5 shows out on the west coast of the States, starting up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and ending down in Santa Monica, California. But the music on that record came from the last 2 shows on that tour, I think, because by that time I was more comfortable with the setting, because we were using different more microphones than just stage mics and things. So I was conscious of this going on around me, and I think it made me nervous in a certain way. So by the time I got to the last 2 shows, I was able to forget that was going on, and also I think from the recording standpoint, by then both the engineer and producer fell into a groove with it too. We figured out what to do and what not to do, and so it was the best. I think it captured the best performances from me, in that I was the most relaxed in those 2 settings, and fortunately, it was also those 2 shows were the best recorded shows, so it worked out good.
And the material on the album are tracks taken from earlier works. Are those the ones that are the ones the crowd likes, basically? I mean, did you think about the album listing as part of the set listing as well?
No, I don't think so. I had a list. I think there were 9 songs on the record, maybe, and I had a list that I was carrying with me of about maybe 15 songs. That I would, kind of choose from. I don't work with a set list, but I had in my mind roughly what I was thinking would be nice to capture. And also they were the songs that I was performing a lot at the time, so I knew that, my hope was that I could become absorbed by the music, and which is always my goal, but I was going to be able to do that most efficiently by, I thought, playing the songs that I was the most comfortable with at the time, which was that list of maybe 14 or 15.
How is writing going in terms of new material?
It's going okay. I'm not. I don't write fast, and I'm certainly not prolific. It takes some time. But I have some new things now that I'm using during the shows, and I've got some time in my schedule set aside in February, I think, to record again. So. I don't have enough new material for a new record yet, but having given myself that deadline, hopefully it's going to take care of it,
Do you find that you need kind of an impetus, personal impetus to write, to have things going on in relationships and things? Does that spur you into writing, or do you not need that?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. it doesn't spur me on, but because I tend to write about things in retrospect. I don't write about things, right when they happen or shortly after. I mean, a lot of the thematic material in my songs comes from things I would think, by and large, no more recent than maybe a year ago or longer. It's nice to have things going on in one's life because it does give you food, or give you fuel for writing, whether that be poetry or novels or something. But there's also the creative aspect, which is very hard to rein in, and impossible to control. So I spend far more time wishing I were writing than actually writing.
But home for you is Oregon, isn't it, Portland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's sort of kind of countrified, and there's not much pressure there, is there? Do you live a sort of country life?
Well, I live close to Portland, which I think, just for size reference, I think there's maybe 750,000 people in the general area. So it's a pretty good sized place. But I live about maybe 15 miles outside of town, which out there is enough distance. I mean, so I live in a quiet neighborhood, but I don't live out in the country or anything. But I live in a pretty sedate, quiet neighborhood, which I like very much.
Do you work very much? Do you sort of go down? Do you have a sort of residency on a Thursday night in different places down there?
No, I don't. I haven't been able to do that for a long time because I tour so much.
Yeah.
I did that for a good number of years, but I stopped doing that probably in maybe 1995 or something like that. So now when I go home, I know it's more a place to hide away and read books and look up friends and things. I don't really do much other than that.
You're listening to The Raven and the Blues on BFBS Radio 2. Our guest this week in the studio is Kelly Jo Phelps. We've got 4 microphones all fairly wide open, so therefore there's a bit more background noise than we normally get. And if you're listening with the sound turned up, you'll have heard our resident ducks outside telling us it's feed time. Let's what we're going to do now, Kelly Jo. What are we going to do next?
Well, I think I'll give you something, one of the new, relatively new things that may make its way to a record someday, but we'll make it here today anyway. It's called Tight to the Jar. It's a ditch, okay. I have shoes and a blanket in my head, resting light on a stone. Though it's hard, it's still rounded with a pocket for brains. All what goes for and hauled under roof tile. We'll sing another blistering ballad for Grandma, a melody sweet till it rolls out the years and the beer flows free as advice. With a tight hand holding the jar, tight hand holding the jar. The mud kicks my chin strap and fills up my cuffs as I plod now from creek edge to street side. As it dries, I can whittle it little by little. Hey, look now, what I'm a light as a bee. Yeah, those gray clouds mean nothing to one such as I. Those shadows stand tall as some schoolmaster whack on the back of a well-intentioned quiet kid. With my eyes held fast to the jar, eyes held fast to the jar. Hitting this slow, So slowly idea coming around of a sensible word. It hovers and shakes like a hummingbird wing. At the end of a long hot year, the end of a long hot year. So fry up that supper, we're gonna kill it for breakfast. Here we'll turn the table downside and crazy, with the legs up and the women up and the men up to church for the spirit. The hen yard, the bent steel tack wrap. It's a ditch, yet I know that. And I do wonder how that bright-faced 10-year-old me, oh, a boy, found a road out I never could see. With my arms held around the jar, arms held fast to the jar. It and slowly idea of coming around of a sensible word. It hovers and shakes like a hummingbird wing. At the end of a long hot year, end of a long hot year, yeah, yeah. The end of a long hot year.
It was noticeable at the Jazz Cafe last night that there was quite a sizable crowd of people all around the stage who, in between the numbers, were calling out their favourites. Do you have you got a May You Never track, sort of the John Martin type thing, where people keep calling it out everywhere you go?
Oh yeah. The one most commonly is Riverette Jimmy, I think, is one of the songs from what record was that? Shine Eyed Mr. Zen, I guess.
That's right.
Back in something 99?
Yeah,
2005,
yeah.
But yeah, that, if I hear requests, it's that one more often than others.
And do you respond? Is it in your set list?
I respond part of the time. I think I would respond more often, but to be honest with you, I'm afraid that if I respond every time, that it's going to get to be a habit, you know.
Yes. Where's Kelly going to do it in this particular show? Yes.
Yeah.
And does it change? Is your audience different in America compared with? I mean, no, Spain's the first time around, but is it different in America compared with, say, with here in UK or Europe?
In what way would you?
I mean, their reaction and the sort of people that they are, and. Is it a different kind of audience in terms of their response?
I haven't noticed that so much. I mean, I notice certainly other things about the way people are, who they are, which clearly a lot of it has to do with culture differences. But when I'm asked that question, by friends at home or something, is it different? I find myself more often describing the difference I find, which is intriguing, is that in conversation outside of the U.S., I find more people that know more about more kinds of music, which I love dearly,
I think one of the other blues shows on the net presented called Bandana Blues with Beardo and Spinner, and Beardo has a very strong theory on this, which was simply that we in the UK, very much white kids, we grabbed the blues in the 1960s on the touring bluesmen, when America had virtually turned its back on them. And apart from only a few people like Mike Bloomfield and things, the majority of American music had turned its back on the blues, and we hadn't. And then, of course, we exported it, or re-imported it, if you like, back into America by the late 60s.
Right.
But that's why I think there's far more people here in the UK, I guess, have majored in it and done far more research.
Yeah, right.
And we on the Radio and the Blues, I get emails from American listeners who say, you play lots of heritage stuff, and I don't even see it like that. I just see the blues with Bessie Smith right through to the present day.
That's my point exactly. Yeah. And as a musician, man, I appreciate that so much, because I mean exactly what you're describing is what I did with my life. You know what I mean, in terms of the research, I mean, as a musician and as a fan, both, like having played that Doc Boggs track. I mean, I make no distinction between who Doc Boggs was as a musician, with who Fred McDowell was as a musician, or even who Robert Johnson. It's all the same thing, and so that's what I usually explain to people that ask, are the crowds different? I say, well, the reaction isn't really different. I mean, maybe that's just something that's fortunate, for me, is that the music seems to be embraced equally wherever, but it's outside of that arena where it gets really interesting, because and maybe I'll tell you one other thing about it though, which isn't necessarily a difference between an audience, at least not in this, not in the way that I think of it, and that is when I'm playing in the States in particular, I find myself being a little bit concerned about whether it's going to be understood, the link between like Roscoe Holcomb and something that I'm writing now. Whereas when I get outside of the States, I don't worry about that, because I know that they'll either like what I do or not like what I do, but it won't be because they think it's not right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
And I like that a lot. Yeah.
What are you going to do for us now?
I think I will do Window Grin as a song. Watch it bounce like water made under the stone. Throw up a leg and try to beg your way back home. Smell the coffee boiling in the corner pot. Everything's in it. Can't make it stop. I ain't been drinking. I say to the carpet laughs at the little man. Whose I drink up a It's been 6 long years since your head was around. Yet I lost it all in the middle there, and you're back and now it's found. It looks like God might play with crooked dice. Eyes in a shadow, he doesn't look nice. A mean boy with a dirty hand, as soon as he's not looking, no. We're gonna sneak down into the promised land. We're gonna sneak down into the promised land. Sure, yeah, the blue pills they rock when I mix those green ones, and ain't no kind of trouble but a man with smoke, no regard for kin. It's a long, long window they're looking through. Don't know who they're looking at. What you gonna do? He'll turn style and change his clothes and put on a grin. That nobody knows, no. Yeah, that nobody knows. So gonna put on a grin that nobody knows, no. I got big hope for tomorrow, hey, like a flea on a cat. They got a 2-day life on a 3-day supply, but the kids are all getting fat, and it's a jagged spoon, a broken dish, as real as Uncle Ben's a dream. I got a wish, I won't pretend to understand why a lovely woman wants this sinkhole man. Oh, a lovely woman wants this sinkhole man. Oh, a lovely woman, yeah, she wants this sinkhole man, yeah. A lovely woman wants this sinkhole man. Ooh, ooh.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure when I saw you a couple of years ago, you changed. You were playing a range of guitars. You seemed last night you didn't change over, did you?
No, it's been a couple of years. I think it maybe was when I came through in 2002. Was that two times ago?
Yeah.
And I was traveling with. I used to travel with 2 guitars. I had one that I played lap style slide on, right, and then a straight guitar. But a couple of years ago, at least, I put the slide guitar down. I lost inspiration for it, for one thing, and so I didn't enjoy it as much, and it felt like I would be cheating. I thought that it felt too much like cheating people to do it when I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Even though it's the rare gig that goes by, still that somebody doesn't say, "Where's this line?" But it was that I lost inspiration with it, and also the music that I was writing all seemed to want to come out on the straight guitar, and because it's so hard to write, it's so hard to come by that creative juice. That the last thing I wanted to do was put a stumbling block in its way by saying, well, I need some slide guitar songs. So, you know what I mean? I thought, I can't do that. I just have to write the way it wants to come out, and it keeps coming out on this guitar. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave the slide for now and wait. I mean, I haven't said no to it.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting. So I've just been traveling with the one guitar.
So it's not gone. It's just kind of in abeyance temporarily.
Yeah, like a Rip Van Winkle. Is that the old story?
Something like that.
Sleeping.
Yeah. You're here on the Houseboat on the Thames on Thanksgiving Day, which to a non-American, I really can't. It's your one of your biggest days of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's that and Christmas. I mean, this is, we refer to the holiday season starting today, which is Thanksgiving, and ending New Year's Day. Do
you wish you could be transported back today? Is Thanksgiving important to you, or have you been touring?
Oh, well, it's an important day because it's a very strong family day, So for that reason, certainly I would love to be transported. But man, I feel that way all the times. I mean, I would tour. I would play a gig every night of the year if I could just snap my fingers and be home when it was done.
Yes, that's the ultimate. Even I was listening to one of the blues shows on the net out of Austin. It's called Austin Riffs, and between the three of them, they seem to go to like 3 gigs a week. And I get so envious because here I am in London, and yet we're only about 13 miles as the crow flies from here to the Jazz Cafe, and yet it's such a schlep across town.
Oh Lord, yeah.
And you think that's why I don't go out every night.
Yeah.
Never mind the expense part of it. So yes, if you could just click your fingers and be there, lovely. Yeah. We've been listening to 40 minutes of Kelly Joe Phelps just talking and playing, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Let's finish with something. What are you going to close with, Kelly
Okay. I think I'll play Leadbelly's Good Night, Irene. I think. Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I have what a great notion to jump in the river and drown. Quit your rambling, quit your gambling, oh, quit and staying out late at night. Stay at home with your wife and your family. Sit down by the fireside bright. Ooh, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I will see you in my dreams. I love Irene, God knows I do. I'm gonna love her till the sea runs dry. If I can't have Irene with me tonight, I might take morphine and die. Oh, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I will see you in my dreams. I ask your mother for you, but she said you were far too young. I wish I had never seen your face. I wish I was never born. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Oh, good night, Irene. I will see you in my dream. I will see you in my dream. I will see you. I will see you in my dream.
Kelly Joe Phelps and good night, Irene. And Kelly, thanks so much for being on the Raven and the Blues this week, and look forward to seeing you in about another year's time, I hope.
That sounds great. My pleasure. Thanks so much.